Well, hey, handy people, Dan here. Hey, have you ever had to fix a hole in metal, a rusty hole, and in one of your cars? Well, this car right behind me, I just discovered through the help of another person who actually saw it in a picture that I have put up. I had a small rust hole, I guess about 2" by 2.5" and was the rotted metal in the floor of this car, which I did not know about. And I've had the car 6 years, spent a lot of time. Don't ask me how I missed it, but I'm human, I guess. So anyways, there is a good way I learned how to fix a hole such as this, and I'd like to show you the steps, so come on. So this is the rust hole that we found. It's not a giant one by any means. It's about 2" by about 2.5. And what I did was I punctured around it as hard as I could with a screwdriver to find out where it was punky, where it wasn't. Then I cut it with a small Dremel tool with a metal cutting blade, and I removed this piece, which was the bad piece. And then I started fabricating a new piece. This is made out of Goodmark sheet metal that's made for car repairs. Kind of sized up the piece I needed by using the old piece, cut it out of a piece of sheet metal pan that was for another car, but hey, it works. And then took it over, and after I got the edges cleaned up so that the adhesive would stick well, I took it over to my little anvil, bent it into shape, and then, took this thing and gave it a trial fit. But first I cleaned it using my grinding wheel with a wire wheel. And then the trial fit looks pretty good. Now I need to drill a hole. So that's the next step, is drilling a hole right in the one corner. You can see in the bottom right corner, there's a small hole. That's so I can put a sheet metal screw through it. Got the sheet metal screw through the plate in this picture, and then screwed it into the floor. Then taking it off and adjusting it a little bit. I then, in the same hole, stuffed some of this bituminous foil and up in there. That's sound deadening. Mixed up some more epoxy, and then I epoxy buttered both sides of the plate and of the opening, and then screwed it shut. Let it sit for a day, and then there it is, pretty much done and dried today. And then I removed the screw and then filled the hole with more of the epoxy, and basically cleaned it up, and then brought in some black oil-based enamel and painted everything over. So this is up close and personal, but you can see it's a small patch, and all that beautiful 3M body panel adhesive, which is basically a two-part epoxy, a specialized one that's hydrophobic, which means it repels water. It's a great patch for being underneath the car. My next step is I'm going to pull this screw, and then I'll fill that with a little bit more of this same stuff, and then I'll come back and I'm going to paint it with a Rust-Oleum paint just to kind of blend it in. And I'll probably paint, this stuff here just because, there's a little bit of surface going on there. So I'll just touch that up, and yeah, this is how I do it. It makes a great repair. This thing's, it's hard as a rock. And of course there's fresh metal glued to the other clean solid metal. And in between that and above, before I put the epoxy in, I put a piece of that bituminous roofing patch stuff with aluminum facing down, so that this would stick to that aluminum, because the glue would stick to that aluminum. And yeah, so it kind of protects what's above this patch. So yeah, that's the way I do it. Now this is the tray that I mixed up the this stuff, this bonding panel adhesive, and I mixed it up on this tray, and of course it's all hardened and this thing's like glued to it. I just had a wedge of, actually those are the wedges I fabricated a bunch of them to try different sizes and fits for when I added the spoiler. But I'm going to use this corner. I only need a little bit to fill that screw hole. You know, there's a couple different ways. You could just leave the screw in and grind the head off. I've seen people do that. I worry about that screw is, maybe dissimilar metal. That might cause rust. So what I prefer to do is take the screw completely out and then fill the hole with the same stuff that's already there holding the metal in place. So yeah, this is next. This stuff is pretty darn amazing. It's made by 3M and it's good stuff. I've used it on a number of applications. My classic Firebird is one, and several of my Volvos. If you want to do small patch repairs in metal, and actually some large ones too, as long as they're not, and if you read the guide on this stuff, it says there's areas of application you're not supposed to use it, and those are basically high stress areas in a unibody, etc. But like a little small patch, this is the way to go. Most of the body shops, I believe, are gluing panels on when they do repairs as much as possible. So anyways, so I mixed up a fresh batch and I'm going to go apply it with this little screwdriver, and I'll show you that just next. Up close and personal. Not only is that repaired, reinforced with new metal, it's also sealed. And I think that's a big plus. That 3M body panel adhesive can be used as a seam sealer, although it's very expensive to use it that way. But it's good stuff. Better living through chemistry. Good things take time is an old saying, and this is true, especially in restoring cars. Thanks for watching.